everyone, my name is Miranda and today I'm here to discuss episode 8 of A Court of Fae and Flowers from Dimension 20. Now, the crazy thing is that after this episode, we only have 2 episodes left. I feel like it really, once you hit the back half of the episodes, it really flies by, and the drama has just been ramping up. I have to hand it to Abria because I feel like the way Abria has plotted this whole campaign has just been so wonderful. Brennan kind of described it well in the adventuring party after this episode, but it's like, okay, now you had your fun time and now it's like elbows out, elbows. You're just constantly dodging all these blows. And if I thought the last episode was my favorite, this episode said, wait, hold on, and grabbed me, and I was in for the ride of my life. There are so many moments that I absolutely loved and that broke my heart, and I have loved this campaign from episode 1, right? But I have never had as visceral physical reactions to an episode until this one. There were so many moments where I was literally, I felt immersed in it, and I have to give it up so much to the players and Abria for that. So let's start off with the moment that got me the most, which is Rue's letter. Rue's letter, oh my dear, everything about it, the fact that it didn't actually get to Hob, the fact that Wovey tore it up. Wovey, I love you, but we're throwing hands, okay? And I know that you're the champion of your former court, so that's probably not a good decision on my hand, but that's how angry I am. But the letter could not have been sweeter. Oscar is so good at writing these letters and so good at improv, and just the entirety of the letter was so amazing because we didn't get to see the rest of the night that Hob and Rue spent together at the dance, but we felt like we were there through this letter. And the part that literally was giving me butterflies in my stomach, goosebumps down my neck, was when Rue was describing how they want to know Hob in a way that no one else knows Hob, to know if they dance by themselves when they're alone, if they mutter under their breath when they're cooking, and it's that's really the mundane stuff that you're in love with someone, right? Just to be I want to know you the way no one else knows you. I want to know what your fears are. I want to know what your dreams are, but I also want to know, what do you think of when it's raining? Do you like going to bed with socks on or socks off? It's just all that little stuff, and just the way they described it was just so perfect. And then also getting to see Brennan's reaction to it, knowing that Hob never actually got to read the letter. Oh, that really hurt. And it, I know that Rue knows at this point that Wovey maybe is not I'm literally getting choked up. I know that at this point Rue knows that Wovey's not exactly a trusted confidant anymore, and that also breaks my heart. But the fact that do they think the letter, they think the letter was delivered, I feel and that just stresses me out because it's gonna be this big miscommunication thing. There's just so many layers to it. I also loved Rue's confrontation with the chorus from the Court of Wonder and them inviting them in. I really love how Abria kind of explained how she created this villains of literally they're inviting Rue to come back and put a mask back on, right? It's basically what's happened to Hob, right? Of oh my gosh, you did such a great job. We're gonna give you this thing that looks like a promotion, but really it's just another way for us to control you and to literally put a disguise back on you. And I was so impressed with Rue, and again, Oscar and all their improv and how they stood up, and just the fact of them explaining that all these blooms have always been about love and about maybe potentially getting rid of the ideas of courts in general. I was oh my gosh, the way they described it all, and they were you're asking me to do the very thing that I'm against, that I made all these blooms to be the exact antithesis of, by joining the court and controlling all of our magic and our, standing above everyone else, when Rue really wants everyone to get in and let their guards down, let their disguises down, and just find love and find happiness between courts and get rid of the idea of separation and they're here, we're here, all that stuff. But oh my gosh, the part when I can't remember verbatim, but when they were you can join us or not, and Rue was is that a threat? And they were we didn't say that. They were you didn't have to. I was oh my gosh, it was just so, there were so many moments where I was oh, it was just so good on everyone. And Rue's whole trajectory this season has been so amazing, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out next episode, if they interact with Hob more, but also if they kind of start to find out about Wovey, because obviously now that Wovey is the one that they're seeing as the replacement in the chorus's eyes, that obviously also makes Rue a little bit more worried because Wubby doesn't seem to grasp the idea that Rue has for the bloom in terms of like breaking down the courts and stuff, which is what I thought was going to happen. Like, I feel like Wubby obviously loves Rue, but I feel like her loyalty is more to the Court of Wonder, and I feel like her loyalty is also more in thinking she knows what's right for Rue and not like actually like I just feel like it's like you're really good friends, right? And like she probably has a crush on them and you know all that stuff, but then it's like that stuff that happens where it's like once you're not on the same side of things, then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, like, you know, I don't trust you to make the decision on your own in terms of like what Wubby's doing. Like, I get she was hurt and upset because like she's in love with Rue and Rue has chosen Hob, and for all intents and purposes like Wubby's done the right thing, right? Wubby's bent her whole life, turned it all around to basically make herself as available and as what Rue needs to be for whatever, and there's this person that's come in now and is like completely different, and I feel like you can see where Wubby's like, I've gotta protect them from this, but then you're like, Wubby, no, like you don't actually understand your best friend if that's what you think you have to do. So that whole confrontation that I'm already expecting to happen is gonna break my heart. Like, oh my gosh, it's too much. It's too much. And then I also loved Hob and Binks's whole conversation in the tailor shop together was really extremely cute. First of all, I love the acknowledgement that like Binks and Hob are truly the only two who like work. Like, Rue obviously does a lot of stuff, but I just mean like in terms of like their courts, like Hob is like the only one we ever see like really doing like the grunt work, and like, you know, people give him orders and then he goes out and does that, whereas like everyone else is just kind of using him. So to feel like Binks was like, hey, I got this, and like made their own kind of model of everything was just a really nice acknowledgement. But I also just love the fact that they could also comfort and break down around each other, and we're both like, we fell in love last night, and like Binks fell in love with Hera and Hob fell in love with Rue. So now, and you know, Serena also touched on the adventuring party. It's a really delicate position for Binks because she doesn't want to betray Rue's confidant, but she knows that Rue likes Hob, and now she knows that Hob likes Rue, and like she's just kind of trying to nudge them together as much as they can without, you know, being like, Rue likes you too. So it's just like, oh, that was so amazing and so beautiful. And like the whole I had to write it down. Let me get it. I had to write it down because I was like, Brennan, you are wrecking my heart right now. Like, tell me this doesn't sound like a quote from Jane Austen, because it was literally like, I was like, I've got to write this down. This sounds so Regency, so beautiful. It's basically when like Binks is like, what if you push more and like it actually ends up being good? And Hob, which I gotta give it up to Brennan because it was so beautiful, says, and for me to have known a single day of love is a gift I never thought I would be lucky enough to have, and I will not squander it hoping for more. I will not spoil it hoping it for more. It was beautiful for what it was. Like, that just to me is like Hob. Like, Hob doesn't know that Rue's in love with them at this point, but it's just to see Hob break down so many times. Like, they were crying to their horse, Rackensplell, who we also found out, thankfully, a horse, not a lover that they had back somewhere. But, like, to see them breaking down when they've always been so stoic and so, like, I'm gonna follow orders, just breaks my heart. And the fact that, like, they accepted the position of, like, I mean, not that they really had a choice, but they accepted the position of, like, going along with this marriage. But in doing so, have decided that, like, they're not gonna be able to accept any more medals of valor or courage because they know that in doing so, this makes them a coward. Like, stop it. And I also love when, was it Blemish or Boyle was like, why can't you accept them anymore? And he was like, I'm gonna invoke the rule of sneakery. My business is my business. And I'm like, yes, Hob, like, you need to stand up to these people. Like, they just use you, like, with no consideration for your feelings or your thoughts. And it just, I'm also very worried because they were talking about, definitely Adventuring Party, how Abria's not scared to kill Brennan, and how iconic would that be if she killed Brennan? But like, Principal confronting Hob in the dark of the night when like no one's around is like such a dishonorable thing, but so in terms of Principal, and I so hope we get his little head and like Binks does end up killing him. If Hob dies, I don't think they do, because in the preview it looked like they got like shot or something and then ran to Hera. But if Hob dies, like, that's it. Like, there's no like revivify, there's no like nothing that we've seen, there's no cleric that we have. Like, I know Hera has lay on hands, but like for them to die without Rue knowing that they love them and also them knowing that Rue loves them will break my absolute heart. And like, Abria said a very thing that makes me nervous of, she was like, you know, normally soldiers in Regency things, they don't get a happy ending. Like, their kind of point is just to serve and then die for their orders. And I was like, if you don't make Hob and Rue Endgame, and if the die take them from me, I am going to lose it. So yeah, it's just, next week is going to be very, very stressful. We also saw the amazing, amazing part of Anhera confronting his mother, which, gotta give it up to Omar. That was such a clutch moment. Just like the way he confronted his mother, and for them to be like, I have the boldness to have sentiment. Like, what a saying. What a saying to be like, you looked at me all these years, you punished me physically by putting something in my neck to punish me for being too emotional, and yet that's what actually makes me better than all of you, is just so good. And then when they were confronting their mom too, and they were like, don't, if you're getting too mad with your feelings, Mom, just bury it. Like, I was like, yes, like throwing all of that back just to see the journey that Anhera has gone on. Like, literally for a moment, I also think Binks was feeling this, or Serena as Binks was feeling this. I was like, oh my gosh, Anhera could totally betray them. If like Omar was playing like a character that like was like gathering everyone's secrets and just acting like he's this little like sweet pillar boy, but like really was like, hey Mom, now I know how I can get in your good graces. Here's everyone who's teaming up against everyone, and like giving all that. I was worried for a split second because I was like, this could have gone very differently if Omar had pitted a different character in his mind. So very glad that didn't happen. I also love the shot of when Lady Chirp told Binks that they thought that the Unseelie Court might have been involved in this sealing of the portals, and then she was like, like, oh no, Anhera, and then they cut to Omar's face and he was like he just plays it so good whenever anyone talks about his character when he's not there. He's like, maybe, and I'm just like, stop it, you're stressing me out. So I am just, yeah, to see the growth that all these characters have gone through. I mean, even look at like Hobb, who hasn't fully like stood up for himself but has realized so much about himself, and I think still has a ways to go to realize that he needs to value himself more and not just be a loyal follower. Like, but in terms of like Rue, in terms of Binks, in terms of Anhera, how far like they've all come emotionally on their journeys from where they started to now being able to stand on their own and confront the people that hold the most power over them and who have, you know, been the villains of their stories, I think is so amazing to me. And just the fact of like them being able to do this now, I feel like they're going to be able to conquer the world. So I'm really, really nervous to see what's going to happen, especially in terms of like Hobb being confronted by Apollo in the dark where no one knows, like, that's stressing me out. But I feel like, you know, everyone else is together and everyone else is going to be like cards on the table, hopefully, and we're going to come up with a really awesome way to unseal these portals and take back the magic that the courts are stealing. And I'm just so super excited, but also super stressed. So yeah, I have full faith in Aabria, though. I feel like they are putting on a beautiful story through all of this, and the characters and the players are so giving and so trusting with each other and with her and with the story they're telling. And yeah, there's 2 episodes left and I have no idea what's going to happen, but I know that it's going to be a ride. So yeah, if you have seen this episode, please feel free to leave your thoughts and your theories and your reactions to it down below in the comments and what you think is going to happen. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!